Ladies and gentlemen, in the very contestuous times that a political season often offers us, in which we have to accept what we are seeing in the siege around Delhi is going to play a large part. We cannot, of course, within the realm of the to and fro and the debate of the good, bad and ugly, disagree with the root premise. The root premise is India came from a famine-struck country, that's how the British left us, and has come a long way from that. We have a long way to go. A developed economy like the United States of America, which provides $40 billion in farm subsidies every year, has 1 to 2% of the workforce involved in farming. We have nearer 50%. Okay? Doubling farmers' income has to happen. I don't know if MSP is the only answer. Could be, could not be. But a lot needs to take place, and I'm drawing the supposition that there are many, many facets of change, of renewal, of improvement that are the puzzle piece that need to be put together to achieve that goal. Now, amid all the rancor of what is going on, good, bad and ugly, we for the past several days, if you've been watching, are doing this series on the real Kisan Kalyan. Today, we are here to discuss hydroponics. For those who are not familiar with it, hydroponics is growing of certain kinds of plants without soil in just mists of water or in beds of water that utilizes potentially 80-90% less water per kilogram of produce grown. There are lots of other benefits of it, including the concentration with which they can be grown, the efficiency with which can be grown, the energy requirements that they can be grown indoors, they can be grown in small places. Let's open up this conversation and examine within our larger series in which we are discussing everything, okay, from how to have better supply chain management to better market access, this aspect of this. Joining us on the broadcast is Sandeep Reddy. He is the co-founder of Kamla Farms. Jasmeet Kandhari, he is the founder of Ponic Greens. And Indrashekhar Singh is going to tie all of this into the larger picture as he regularly does for us in his erudite but pro-farmer way. Let me come to Mr. Reddy first. Mr. Reddy, can you help us understand what Kamla Farms does first?
So we are a facility provider. So we help any kind of farmer or any individual who is enthusiastic about agriculture, want to start their agricultural journey. So we help them set up a farm of whatever size they want to and help them grow with the technical support that we have in-house, and also help them in the marketing aspect where currently a lot of people struggle. So these are the three areas where we work and help the farmer or the individual.
Okay, what kind of techniques are you seeing emerging that you know for sure that if applied, the increased efficiency, increased production that you would advise, and in fact, if more people adopted, their income would go up?
So in terms of the technology, efficiency has been increasing. So since we started, just to go back, when we started, there were hardly like 10-15 hydroponic farms in the country. But as on today, if we see, there are more than 1,000 hydroponic farms well established and serving commercial purpose. So the technology that people are adapting to is more people are driven towards growing leafy vegetables in hydroponics. About 80% of the hydroponic farms grow leafy vegetables because it's a concentrated way of growing something which is at high density and high profitability. So that's the reason people are adapting nutrient film technique as one of the technology to grow leafy vegetables. And 20% of them are adapting something like a polybag technology or a Dutch bucket technology to grow the non-leafy crops such as bell peppers, cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, and all.
Okay. There are hydroponic towers also, and there's aquaponics, which is even supposed to be even more self-sustaining. So there is a whole branch here. Let me get Mr. Kandhari. And Mr. Kandhari, can you tell us a bit about Ponic Greens? What do you do?
We are actually based in Gurgaon. So we cater to the home sector as well as the commercial sector and slightly the government sector as well, where we provide in the home sectors, we are providing all kind of solutions like rooftop farming, balcony farming, indoor farming, completely controlled agriculture and everything related to hydroponics, where we are providing all the systems, NFT systems, Dutch bucket systems, aeroponic systems are there, and indoor LED systems. So these systems we mix and match, and we cater to the clients as per their requirement. And that's our main focus of work in the NCR of Gurgaon.
Okay,
mainly.
what is the kind of adoption that you're seeing? What are the kinds of plants that people are growing? You heard your previous speaker point out that it's, in this case, is generally green leafy vegetables. So is it spinach? Is it cabbage? What is happening?
Yes, with the leafy greens, actually, it's a very fast crop. It's an easy crop to grow in hydroponics, and the results are fast. So we recommend our clients to start with the leafy greens first, so they get a confident that it's a new technology. They get confident about it. They have it fast, and then you move on to slightly different crops. Like you can do strawberries, you can do bell peppers, you can do all the other crops as well, slightly more intense, but the results take a little time. But when you get the result, they are very fruitful.
Okay.
So we recommend, yeah.
Okay. Sandeep ji, before I come to Inder, now for people out there who are genuinely interested, not just as I'll make my own salad every day, but the people who are actually interested in earning a living out of farming, or people who are already employed in the business of farming, okay? Why does it make economic, financial sense to look at hydroponics, aeroponics, look at the nature of the crop that is being developed, which of the crops can yield a better return on investment? Explain the business to us, sir.
Yeah, so it's a very good question, and a lot of us ask these questions to us. So why this has been more profitable and how it has been growing is, first and foremost, the labor availability as on today and as we go forward is very scarce. So the cost of the labor is going up, and the availability, the regularity. So it's not uniform as it was previous. So here you don't need a lot of people. That's the major advantage. And the second advantage is you don't need the space that is needed on the regular land. Let's say if you're using a 7-acre to 10-acre land to grow the same leafy greens, you can occupy them maybe in a 10,000 square feet or a 20,000 square feet, depending on the type of hydroponic technology that you're using to grow. So second advantage is the space that you're using. And the third advantage is the level of intensity that you see each and every plant, and the care that you take to the plant is limited space is available for you to take care of it. So the uniform growth that you see by picking up maybe one plant from one corner and you go to the far end of your polyhouse and see, the uniformity is constant and the weight is also constant. So when you're able to deliver these three aspects by using very less amount of water, which is most important, and as we're seeing, the water in almost major cities or like tier 1, tier 2 areas is draining out, as it is not available how it was previously. So using very less water, when I say less, it is like 90% less water, we are able to grow these kind of crops. So these are the four major benefits which are helping any farmer.
Okay, now that this is not a new thing, ladies and gentlemen. Hydroponics, aeroponics has been around for decades. It is in some places maturing. For some people, urban farming is a new trend. A lot of new trends have to contribute to a renewal and rediscovery of how we're going to feed ourselves going ahead. Now let me get Indrashekhar Singh to tie this all up. So Indrashekhar, I know there are lots of conversations that we need to have about MSPs and what do we pay for wheat and what do we pay for rice. But here's the good news for people watching. For you, the people of India, we produce excess of the wheat and the rice we require. Okay, so for you people, that's good news. For the farmers, that's bad news, because when you have excess of something, the value of it per unit goes down, and then you need MSP guarantees and government subvention. And government subvention, as I've repeated several times today, happens in all countries. 50 billion euros a year in Europe, okay. $40 billion a year in the US. So farming is subsidized all over the world. But Indrashekhar Singh, we are going to have to acknowledge that we are going to have to diversify our technology, adopt new means, do crop diversification, do some things fundamentally different from what we are doing in order to create a better situation. Where does something like hydroponics, green leafy vegetables, cash crops, better return that they offer per kilogram, where does this fit in?
Rishabh, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. And I'll begin with the hydroponics, aquaponics question, because I think that's the theme today. I think the hydroponic systems have a great value when it comes to producing contamination residue-free food. And the potential of this in urban areas, especially for urban unemployed youth, there is a huge potential. With a simple government support for urban youths living in tier 1, tier 2, or even tier 3 cities, I think they can provide direct market access and direct very clean food to the people living in those cities. So that's the need of the hour, at least in the cities. Now, when it comes to the villages, I would go for aquaculture and not use the word hydroponics. Because then I'll give you a little example. This technique actually was started by the native people of the Americas, where they started to farm things on rivers. That's the beauty. That's how old this technique is. And in places like Indonesia, people are still farming fish and paddy together. Now, if you look at the Indian agroclimate...
Can you just explain that to our viewers? I'll quickly brief. So what happens is when the fish eat and they process and defecate, that is the nitrogenous nutrients that the plants require. And then they have a alkaline balance that gets maintained in the water, which is what aquaponics is. So basically, you require no additional fertilizer is roughly what it is. Indra, go ahead.
Exactly. So you're basically conforming to the cycles of nature. And when you conform to the cycles of nature, not only are you decreasing your input costs, but you're also increasing yields, and you're also ensuring that your food is very nutritious. It has all the trace minerals, and it's not nutritionally empty. So that's why the government can actually have a good program in areas like Bihar, where there is a culture of having ponds, where the Bengal, all the Gangetic Plain states, where there's excess water, there can be a hybrid scheme. So the farmers are not just producing rice and paddy, they're also producing fish, and they're producing other biodiversity-based foods. So this is a great way of also supplementing the income, because now farmers are growing meat, which is a good cash crop for farmers, and also doing it organically. Now, if you do this organically, you can also export your fish, you can export your paddy. So by following the rhythms of nature, I think there is an economic advantage too. And the hydroponic technology, of course, I'm not saying everything is good with it. There are problems of high input costs. There is water, because right now most Indian water in cities is contaminated because of the excessive flow and the industrial affluents.
Okay. So Indra, now draw the larger picture, okay? Because obviously, hard economics is difficult to run away from. And the hard economics is telling you that in certain parts of the country, growing certain kinds of staple crops is no longer yielding a sufficient return for it to be even subsistence. Literally, what is the MSP? MSP is supposed to be what your cost is plus a little bit more for you to live. Okay, it's not that it's making you wealthy. All right, that you're going to buy a car and send your kids to college. So diversification will have to happen. Now, how do we facilitate farmers thinking that there are other methodologies, maybe other crops that we need to pick, which can simply give us a better bang for the buck?
See, Rishabh, the answer lies in already all of us know. When right now the price of wheat in India has been the highest. The food inflation that's happening in India, and you've paid 200 rupees for tomatoes, I paid 200 rupees for tomatoes. We are all paying right now every month more money for our wheat flour.
Correct.
So the question is now, like, how do we diversify? If we have a whole diversification policy for organic agriculture, we can have price floors. Now, what the MSP is, it's nothing but a price floor that the government is recommending. If we have ecological agriculture, which has a lot more beans, which has a lot more legumes, which has a lot more biodiversity-based foods, not only with the farm income increase, but the farmers will also be doing an ecological service to the nation by using less water and by reintroducing biodiversity on their fields.
Okay.
I think the stubble burning problem will finish in one season if the farmers go back to their original crops. And India needs dals right now. We are going through a dal crisis. We need oil seeds. Why can't the farmers be given a price floor? Because we are paying Brazil for our dal.
The oil seeds are a big deal. I mean, because you have to keep importing. Can you imagine India has to import oil from other parts of the world? Okay, so now let me just get a dipstick test by Mr. Kandhari. Mr. Kandhari, are you seeing, in your experience, just hobbyists Okay, it's the person at home who wants to put a couple of things कि bhai mere ghar ka spinach. Okay, my mom is a hobbyist. Okay, so she does this at home. Or are you seeing actually people becoming micro entrepreneurs, that their setup is large enough than their needs, and they actually earn an additional bonus income from doing this?
Right. As one of my first clients, they did it as a hobby for their home consumption, and when they got the result, of course, they had moved on to a commercial setup. So it really depends on how enthusiastic you are about the technology and how good you are with getting the system working for yourself. So it you do require hands-on experience on it, and once you get it, definitely the interest level goes up, and they farmers, rooftop farmers, my clients, they start from one NFT system, and they have after getting a successful system, they move on to Dutch buckets, they move on to all the different whatever space they have, they've started utilizing it. So it's just a matter of putting your hand into it, and once you have done it, then the expansion.
In other parts of the world, in growing things like microgreens, which are very expensive and relatively easy to grow from pods, even in basements, mushroom farming is been a big high cash ticket item these days. So it's about diversification, doing things, understanding the market. Vocal for local is important. A lot of the high-end restaurants that would pay the premium because they're charging a premium would prefer fresher produce, which is more locally sourced. How do you locally source in the center of South Delhi? You can't until somebody has an aquaponics thing on their rooftop. Okay, so let me quickly get Mr. Reddy back into this. Mr. Reddy, for an existing farmer, okay, who is growing in Punjab paddy, all right, and is now thinking that the paddy crop, even if the MSP goes up by 10%, honestly, it's not going to make me rich, all right? What should I look at in terms of using my land, increasing things, and where can hydroponics or aquaponics or aeroponics play a role in that?
Yeah. So if someone is growing paddy and if they want to shift, they can rightly shift to a crop, something like spinach to start with, because spinach is very highly consumed in this particular belt. And when you grow spinach, you can really match the market yard rate too in hydroponics when you grow at a scale. When I say scale, that's like you're growing in an acre, then you can obviously match the cost of your local mandi. And when you're able to do that in volume, then you're going to be more profitable than growing a paddy as a farmer.
Okay, all right. Indra, tie this up for us. There are lots of puzzle pieces out there. But for people who are maybe a new generation of people who are actually interested in farming, and I'm seeing it happen, I'm seeing people going back to their villages and saying, okay, we are going to take over the farm plot and we're going to make. So let me tell people, for people watching the broadcast, for many, many years, the trend has been that you leave the village and the few bigas that you've got, somebody farms them instead of you, and they give you a percentage of the produce or they pay you rent. Okay, that's what's been happening. So within this trend, what's the modernization that we can do in farm, including hydroponics, aquaponics, aeroponics? Where is that revolution taking us?
See, Rishabh, we have the advantage of we don't have to reinvent the wheel. These technologies have been tested in other nations. We just have to adapt the ones that are best for us. Now, of course, like I said earlier, the whole hydroponic project is great for cities like Delhi and Bombay. It's great for Kolkata. It's great for all our metro cities. But there has to be a hybrid model. One hand does not fit all. I would start from get permaculture in. Permaculture is a blanket term that has all these technologies within it. There are indigenous-based technologies and there are scientific, modern, industrial-based technologies. We should actually have a marriage of both of them when we are proceeding and thinking about food security in India. We cannot afford another problem where vegetable prices are skyrocketing to 400%.
Yeah.
So we need to have a two-eye approach, and that's what's needed today. You talked about people returning to the farm. Let's look at what's happening in America. And you rightly pointed out, and thank you for pointing it out, that America and Europe pay their farmers a lot of money when compared to Indian farmers and farmers in the developing world, while challenging us at the WTO that you cannot support our farmers. So there is an agro bullying that's happening. And when we talk of people returning to the land, the return to the land people, they're all about ecology. They want to do something for Mother Earth. They don't want to spread poisons on their land. So there needs to be a government pathway. And the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Yojana, which is for Paramparagat Kheti, which is the organic mission, I think that should be strengthened all around the cities so that people can return in a sustainable way. And there should be price floors.
There is a, I was watching this video of a comedian online, and it's a 60-second video when he goes that when our parents were growing up and they would put matti on their face, then we laughed at them and we said, you use soap. When you use the soap, then we laughed at them. Then we said, you use even better soap. Then we used the better soap. Then we said, no, actually you should have been using matti because chemicals are bad for you. So we go through that entire cycle. It's like fashion. But you're having this rediscovery, which is important. Things like turmeric are making a comeback. So my appeal to you, ladies and gentlemen, is that we are all stakeholders in the process of a farming revolution which needs to happen in the country. This farmer protest will end. There will be maybe a slight rise in MSP. That's not going to change the world. What Indra just pointed out, MSP has and can only be a base price, can only be a floor price, which is a guarantee that it can't get worse than this. It is better for government, for taxpayers, for the exchequer, for the farmers, if there is profitability to be made. You, the viewer, the user, you and me require food to be cheap. It will drive people to poverty otherwise. So there's a balance to be struck in between and a reinvention and rediscovery required. So now you think about it. Maybe you want to start your own hydroponics farm, then these are the people you need to call. You've just seen two of them interviewed here. Maybe you want to be supplying the services, though you want to then join Mr. Reddy or Mr. Bhandari and train under them and one day start your own agency in a different part of the country. Maybe you want to go to the farmers and introduce this technology to them. Maybe you want to be an entrepreneur making or better designing the systems, the Dutch Batik systems and the other systems that we've been discussed. This is what needs to be done. This is how we can contribute. It is a doable thing. So let's keep chipping at it. We are just trying to have these conversations just to nudge this along in the right direction.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.